I would like to thank Coca 2005 for sending me this story, and this is an update to a story that I did back in February, and it was probably one of the most crazy stories that I talked about so far this year, where it involved this rapper out of California whose name is Willie McCoy, and he was shot a total of 55 times in 3.5 seconds by 6 different police officers. He was the one that was in the parking lot at the Taco Bell, and he was asleep. And I believe one of the workers working inside the Taco Bell had called the police and basically said something like somebody was just in the parking lot. But I believe that he was actually asleep. And he had a firearm that was next to him or near him, basically for his own safety. And they came up and they pretty much surrounded him. They were tapping on the glass. They didn't know what was going on. They claimed they didn't know he was asleep. And he started to move a little bit. And when he moved, the gun was sitting right there on his lap. Now, mind you, it was for his own safety. He started to move a little bit, and they assumed that he was about to open fire on them. So they used the whole "I fear for my life" rhetoric and shot this man a total of 55 times in 3.5 seconds. Pretty much killing him, probably mainly, most likely before all shots were done firing, he was already dead. That was overkill. They would never do that with a white person. And that white person could be charging at them with all kinds of force, and they would still let them slide. But the reason why this is an update is because what came out in a report doesn't surprise me. There was a report that came out saying that the 6 officers who were involved with killing this man acted reasonably. Now, let me just tell you again, they shot this man 55 times total in 3.5 seconds and said they acted reasonably. The last time a black person got shot that fast and even faster than that was Tamir Rice. He was shot even quicker than that, and they pretty much said the same exact thing. Notice how whenever a black person is murdered, because I don't like to say killed, with them it has to be murdered. Well, this guy was pretty much slaughtered. He didn't stand a chance. Whenever they do that with us, they always say it was reasonable. Always reasonable. Like like almost pretty much they were justified in what they did. This guy did not stand a chance. They always fear for their life when it comes to us. But when it comes to their own, they handle it with the most kindest, gentlest of kid gloves that you can find. Because I swear, it must be somewhere written in that handbook that black people are their natural enemy. That they got to kill anything that resembles what they deem to be a threat, and anyone that looks like this guy had to be a threat. It says a retired peace officer with experience in training police officers in the use of force said the Vallejo police officer's fatal shooting of rap artist Willie McCoy, aged 20, in a Taco Bell drive-thru in February was reasonable and in line with modern training and police practices. That right there is scary, because if that is lining up with their modern day police practices for that department, that means they'll do that to anybody. Well, anybody who looks like us. And see, the thing is, it doesn't take much for them to have a suspicion flag waved to for us when it comes to a high level of suspicion. We don't have to do much of anything. Remember, the guy who and I'm gonna talk about this in a later video, what just happened in California. Guns raised on that guy while he's on his knees with his hands behind his back. They were prepared to kill that man. Luckily, they didn't. But it's always justified when it comes to us. They said this lines up with their practices. So they basically train them to do stuff like this. Why even be a cop? I mean, you might as well just go all out and be a citizen. But see, the thing is, they can get protected while they're a cop doing this and get paid. Just hearing that alone lets me know there will be no kind of deeper investigation into this. This also lets me know that these pigs will be walking scot-free. Nothing is going to happen to them whatsoever for this crime. City Attorney Claudia Quintana referred to a May 17 report by Dave Blake of Brentwood-based Blake Count Consulting. Quintana posted Blake's report in a news release about it on Vallejo's website Monday. Quintana said the report details the legal background and the reason behind Blake's conclusions, but she said it is important to realize that there's a difference between what force is reasonable from a civil liability perspective and what outcome city officials and the community wanted. The death of Mr. McCoy is not the outcome that the city of Vallejo and our community desired. A letter by Blake to Assistant City Attorney Kelly Trujillo said the review of the February 9th fatal shooting focused on the constitutional aspects of the use of force as well as any human factor psychological aspects which might apply. Blake said he reserved the right to add, change, and delete any of his opinions based on any provision of more information not reviewed at the time his report was completed. The report says 6 Vallejo police officers fired 55 rounds in 3.5 seconds at McCoy, who was sitting in a silver Mercedes that was still in drive gear. Blake said the officers had reasonable suspicion and on probable cause to detain or arrest McCoy for offenses that included carrying a loaded firearm in public, DUI, possession of a firearm under the influence of a controlled substance, and resisting, delaying, or obstructing a peace officer. Had he been white, he would still be alive. They would have just simply arrested him. But all of those that they listed right there, they decided to kill that man. They slaughtered him. They straight up murdered him. Almost gang-like style. Well, seeing as how many of these departments act and form up like a gang, that pretty much lines up with the narrative. Like I said before, they would never do this to a white person. Never. And they've done a whole lot worse. And this is the Lang obstructing a peace officer. The guy was asleep in his car. He saw all those lights when he woke up. Like I said, he didn't stand a chance. But this also reminds me of what happened in another video I talked about that happened in, what was it, Oklahoma? With the guy in the gas station, and he told him to turn the car off and do all this and do that. He's like, no, I'm not moving because if I do, you're going to shoot me. You're going to kill me. And he was smart not to do so. That cop knew exactly what he was doing. He wanted that guy to fall for the trick, and he didn't. It probably pissed him off that he didn't. But like I said, this guy didn't stand a chance because he was asleep. When you're asleep, your bearings are not all the way there. So they used that to their advantage and claimed that this guy was making sudden movements. The person who was closest to him had to have known this guy was asleep because he could see into the car that the guy's eyes were closed. And when one fires, the rest will follow. It's a chain reaction. They just wanted to kill someone that day, and unfortunately, they were successful. One of the officers who looked inside the Mercedes-Benz as McCoy slept said he saw a gun in McCoy's lap, and 2 other officers confirmed it. Video footage from various angles makes it clear McCoy sat up, moved both hands towards his lap, and then moved his left arm downward. Officers were given loud verbal commands as McCoy made movements forward and hit 3 seconds before the shots were fired. See, they don't even allow you to actually follow their commands because they're constantly giving a whole bunch of conflicting ones, so you don't know which ones to follow. It's like I said before, it's like a bad game of Simon Says. You're only supposed to have one Simon, but with them you have about 10 Simons giving you 10 different commands. You don't know which one to follow, otherwise you'll be out of the game. In this case, out of life. McCoy's eyes were open and he looked around at the officers before reaching toward the area of the gun. Videos from all body-worn cameras show McCoy was fired upon 3 seconds after the first verbal command to show his hands. First verbal command. Had it been a white person, they would have gave them about 10, maybe even more commands. Just before the shots were fired, McCoy's left arm movement indicates he was reaching down toward the floorboard. According to Blake, the 6 officers had probable cause to believe McCoy posed an immediate threat of death or serious injury to themselves and others, and the use of force was objectively reasonable and necessary based on the totality of circumstances. See how they just govern themselves? And that's why when shit happens to them, I don't feel a damn thing. I don't. Because 9 times out of 10, they always want you to feel bad. But if you go back and dig into their past, I bet you many of them are just as dirty and filthy as ever. Probably out there looking like Pigpen off of Charlie Brown. That's how dirty they are. But yeah, they pretty much govern themselves. They pretty much made up in their mind that they were not in the wrong. And I highly doubt anything is going to happen to them. If they haven't brought any charges against them now, which I have yet to see any charges be brought up, nothing's going to happen. Like, this is pretty much a done deal in their eyes. So they live to see another day and possibly kill another black person. Y'all let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I will talk to you in the next one.